So let's start, I guess, with when whaling began in Antarctica. In 1904 was the first shore station that was established in South Georgia. And then after that, it slowly took off. 30 years later, there was about 40 factory ships operating with about 100 catchers. So pre-1904, we know the population of whales was around 30,000 individuals in terms of humpback whales. Blue whales was likely similar. The peak of the whaling era was in the 1940s in Antarctica. Blue whales and humpback whales were amongst the first whales to be harvested commercially just due to their large size. By the 1930s in Antarctica, there was almost no humpback whales left, and that's when they started switching to other cetaceans. People realized that whaling was no longer sustainable, so thus the creation of the International Whaling Commission occurred in the 1950s. And it wasn't actually until 1987 that we had a permanent global referendum on, or moratorium on the ban of whaling. So it took about almost 90 years from the beginning of 1900 until almost 1990 for us to stop this practice. Now, humpback whales have recovered in a really miraculous way. So since the end of whaling, they're now back up to 93% of their populations. There's about 27,000 of them living in Antarctica. So these whales, now that they've been given the space and the time to recover, have really flourished, which just shows what you do when you leave nature alone. Other baleen whales have not been as fortunate in their success story. The blue whale is still considered threatened or even endangered. When you consider the lifespan of a humpback whale, it can be almost 100 years old. Many of these individuals that we might be seeing could have well very been alive during the time of peak whaling. And even after that moratorium in 1987, whaling continued under this loophole, because the loophole was that you could whale in Antarctica, but it had to be for scientific purposes. However, you were allowed to sell the byproduct of your scientific research. So you're allowed to harvest whales under the guise of scientific research and then sell the meat. After commercial whaling was made illegal, up until 2018, Japan was actually able to legally harvest about 10,000 whales from Antarctic waters after the official end of commercial whaling. The International Court of Justice was able to persecute them eventually and put an end to this in 2018 because they were able to prove that these whales that Japan was taking actually had no scientific value. From 2000 until 2018, Japan produced, or the body that was whaling in Japan produced 2 academic papers with all of these 10,000 whales they harvested. None of these papers were peer-reviewed by any reputable source. I don't have a number for whale hunting, but I can tell you that whale watching globally is over $500 million a year annually in profit, and that's worldwide. Whaling in today's modern era almost always has to be subsidized by governments at a net loss. So whale watching has far surpassed the value of whales as a physical process.